The measurement and design of New Jerusalem, Revelation 21:16 tells us that the city will be a cube measuring 12,000 stadia on each side. The stadion or stadium was a Greek measurement of 600 feet, although the precise length of the foot varied from place to place. It is important to note, however, that the precise standard used here is the same one employed for the millennial Jerusalem in Ezekiel chapters 40 through 48. That is clear for two reasons. First, because in verse 17 we are told that the human and angelic measurement are identical here. That is, the longer angelic standard is being employed here for John, just as it was when the angel measured the temple for Ezekiel, Ezekiel 45. Second, because the length of the sides of the New Jerusalem are precisely 1,200 times longer than those of the millennial Jerusalem. That is, millennial Jerusalem measures 4,000 cubits or 100 stadia per side, subtracting the area for the temple sanctuary, which is not present in New Jerusalem. Ezekiel 45:2 and 48:30, thus indicating that the same heavenly standard is to be understood. Based upon this, the dimensions of the New Jerusalem would be approximately 1,590 of our own statute miles in length, breadth, and height. In terms of the present-day earth, the city would not only cover all of the expanded millennial Israel, but also most of the Middle East, with its border running roughly from the river Danube to the Caspian Sea, to the Red Sea, to the Libyan Desert, and back north again to the Danube. We know that New Jerusalem's borders run due north to south and due east to west because of the orientation of its gates. Given the necessity for the eternal territory of Israel to continue to exist outside of this massive city, as suggested, we most likely have to do with a greatly enlarged new earth, which has been expanded proportionally so as to accommodate this need. The whole land of Canaan, where you are now an alien, I will give as an everlasting possession to you and your descendants after you, and I will be their God. Genesis 17:7. One aspect of the New Jerusalem, which sometimes leads to confusion, is its height, described in verse 16 as equal to its length and breadth. However, we should not think of the city as having floors stacked some 1,600 miles into the sky. Rather, this third dimension will be largely vacant, with the surface of the city functioning in precisely the same way as every other iteration of Jerusalem and of Paradise, a habitable two-dimensional surface, but enclosed by a sanctified exterior of 3 dimensions. The Holy of Holies in the tabernacle furnishes us with the pattern of interpretation we are to use here. After all, we are explicitly told that the tabernacle was a model of heavenly types, Exodus 25:40 and Hebrews 8:5. We have seen before some of these representations, for example, the Ark of the Covenant representing the chariot throne of God, and the threefold illustration of Jesus Christ provided by the altar of incense, the menorah, and the table of the bread of presence. Apropos of our current discussion is the similarity between the Holy of Holies and the New Jerusalem in terms of spatial proportion, arrangement of pertinent contents, and exterior covering. Both the Holy of Holies in the tabernacle and the New Jerusalem are perfect cubes. The Holy of Holies contained the Ark of the Covenant, corresponding to the throne of God the Father and the Lamb, Revelation 22:1 and 2, with the mercy seat and the cherubim overlooking it, corresponding to the angelic presence in the New Jerusalem. However, most of the actual space within the Holy of Holies was empty. In a similar fashion, only the surface of the New Jerusalem will be furnished, with the throne, the tree of life, the river of the water of life, the main street, and no doubt with other unnamed glories, our own personal eternal habitations included. The throne will be found at the center of the city and will be elevated, and given the proportions of the city, it is probable that the height of the central mount will be great, as indeed, in relative terms, the Ark and mercy seat are proportionally quite high as compared to the floor level of the tabernacle. This is in keeping with the residence of God throughout creature history before the creation of mankind. For you said in your heart, I will ascend heavenward. I will set my throne above the stars of God. And I will take my seat on the mount of assembly on the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High God. Isaiah 14:13 and 14. In Eden. Now a river was flowing forth from Eden, that is, downhill, in order to water the garden, and from there, that is, after passing through the garden, it divided so that it turned into 4 headwaters. Genesis 2:10. In the present day, third heaven. But you have come to Mount Zion and to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem. Hebrews 12:22. And I looked, and behold, the Lamb stood upon Mount Zion, and with him were the 144,000, having his name and the name of his Father written upon their foreheads. Revelation 14:1. In the millennial Jerusalem. At the end of days, the mountain of the temple of the Lord will be established as the chief of all mountains, and it will be raised higher than all other hills, and all the nations will flow to it. Isaiah 2:2. The man brought me back to the entrance of the temple, and I saw water coming out from under the threshold of the temple, toward the east, for the temple faced east. The water was coming down from under the south side of the temple, south of the altar. Ezekiel 47:1. And in the glorious New Jerusalem to come, and he showed me the river of the water of life, bright like crystal, coming forth from the throne of God and of the Lamb, that is, and so flowing downhill as in every other such case. Revelation 22:1. As indicated, just as the tabernacle was completely covered with an exterior curtain, so the New Jerusalem will have its own distinctive 3-dimensional border. The inner layer of the tabernacle's curtain was composed of linen blue, reflecting the heavenly origin of the only one who can give us access, purple, reflecting the royalty of the only one who can give us access, and scarlet, reflecting the sacrifice of the only one who can give us access. This layer was also embroidered with cherubim, symbolizing the holy abode of God, the third heaven lying above the firmament of sky and space, unreachable apart from Christ. The outer layer of the tabernacle curtain was composed of dark, leathery sea cow skins, symbolizing the firmament of the sky, glistening, shimmering, with a blue-black watery appearance and impenetrable to the eye. In eternity, there will be no need to shield the glory of God from his creation. Instead of an intricate, multi-layered curtain, however, New Jerusalem will be clothed with translucent jasper, and through that covering the glorious light of his being will illuminate the universe. And night will no longer exist. And those with the name of the Father and the Son on their foreheads will not have need of the light of a lamp or the light of the sun. The Lord God will shine upon them. Revelation 22:5. Just as the tabernacle was illuminated by the lamp and indwelt by the Shekinah glory of God, so the New Jerusalem will be illuminated by the true glory of God, with that glory illuminating the exterior, covering from within, and everything without as well, in keeping with the proclamation that he will be tenting with us from this point forth forever. For my tabernacle will be over them. Then I will be their God, and they will be my people. Ezekiel 37:27. And the Lord will create over Mount Zion and over all her assemblies a cloud, one of smoke by day, and of a shining flame of fire by night. For there will be a canopy above the glory of his presence, covering it entirely. It will be a shelter from the heat by day, and a refuge and hiding place from the storm and rain. Isaiah 4:5 and 6.